Don't flinch now. You felt it, didn't you? The switch. The exact second their smiles stopped meaning what they used to. One win. One. And the air changed. The congratulations came with a stutter, the applause with a side eye, and the room that once felt warm suddenly started calculating your temperature like you were a new disease. You didn't even brag. You didn't even celebrate loud. You just won. And the silence turned radioactive. They can't stand that kind of peace, can they? The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that doesn't post a tutorial or a breakdown for the weaklings to follow. Because your victory wasn't community approved. It wasn't vulnerable. It wasn't humble. It was final. And nothing triggers the fragile like finality. You became a walking reminder that effort still matters, that pain, discipline, and dark nights still build monsters. And now they're rewriting their stories to make you the villain in theirs. They can't admit you just did the work. So they create this sob symphony. You changed. You're different. You're cold. No. You evolved. You stopped bleeding for people who were drinking it like wine. You see, when you were losing, they were comfortable. You were relatable, digestible, human. But the moment you crossed that invisible line, they lost their reflection in you. Your success exposed their apathy. Your light made their excuses look ugly. And instead of rising with you, they played their favorite role, the victim. Oh, how they love that part. Tears, guilt trips, twisted timelines. They'll cry over the weapon you never drew, scream about wars you never fought. But don't you dare explain, because explanation is the rope they hang your peace with. You're not cruel. You're clean. And that terrifies people. You didn't destroy them. You just stopped saving them. You didn't betray them. You just stopped carrying their ghosts on your shoulders. And that, my friend, is when the audience turns. Because they never wanted your growth. They wanted your dependence. They wanted to feel needed by someone destined for the stars. You were their mirror, not their muse. And when you started glowing beyond their comprehension, they called it arrogance. Because nothing screams trigger like watching someone escape a cage you've built together. They want your downfall to be poetic. They want to see cracks in your armor so they can whisper, "See? Still human, but the truth." You're beyond human now. You've walked through too many internal wars to flinch at public opinion. You've burned entire versions of yourself just to keep the light steady. You're not lucky. You're haunted. Every win of yours is paid for in sleepless nights and skeleton deals. But they'll never see that. They can't handle the receipt for real resilience. And here's the punchline. You never took anything from them. They gave it willingly. Attention, obsession, resentment. You became their gravity. Their jealousy keeps them orbiting around your silence. You stopped performing, and somehow you became the main event. That's the paradox of power. Do less, and the world shakes harder. Smile once, and it's analyzed for hours. Move once, and it feels like an earthquake. Because deep down, they know you shouldn't have survived this world, let alone won in it. You carry both divinity and depravity in your stare. You're the saint they prayed for, and the demon they summoned. You didn't just rise, you ascended while bleeding. You've got heaven in your lungs and hell in your spine. That balance makes people lose their minds. Because how can someone so broken glow like that? How can someone with so much trauma still smile like a prophecy? Let me tell you the truth they'll never say out loud. You are the karmic backlash to mediocrity. Every time they fake humble, fake kind, fake woke. You exist as proof that authenticity still wins. You're what happens when pain decides to dress up as elegance. You're what happens when chaos learns choreography. You turned your nervous breakdown into a symphony. You made madness look like management. So don't dim, don't apologize. Let them drown in their victimhood. It's the only pool they ever built. Your silence will haunt them louder than any speech. Your peace will echo like sirens in their sleep. You're not the villain in their story. You're the consequence. You are divine retribution wrapped in a smirk. And remember this, when they whisper, "You changed," smile. Because what they're really saying is, "You stopped making me feel better about being lazy." You didn't change, darling. You just stopped pretending to be small. So go on. Win again, calmly, silently. Watch the narrative implode. Because the moment you breathe without seeking validation, the whole illusion cracks. They saw you win once and it broke them. Imagine what'll happen when you make it your lifestyle. Ah, there it is. That silence. The kind that comes right after victory. Not applause, not praise. Just a strange, suffocating quiet. You can feel it pressing against your skin, can't you? That invisible resentment disguised as politeness. They clap for you with trembling hands. They smile with lips that ache from pretending. And every "I'm proud of you" sounds like a warning. You won. And somehow, that became their tragedy. Funny thing, isn't it? You never meant to hurt anyone. You didn't steal, didn't cheat, didn't sabotage. You just grew. You became the version of yourself they swore could never exist. And that's the crime. That's what drives them insane. You changed without their permission. You evolved outside their narrative. You didn't ask for validation. You just arrived. And when that happens, oh, it burns. Your peace is their discomfort. Your detachment is their insecurity screaming for attention. Suddenly, you're the villain in group chats. Your name is spoken like a spell that shouldn't be uttered too often. They start telling stories about you. Not because they know you, but because they can't stop thinking about you. The more you win, the more they need to convince themselves it's fake. Because if it's real, it means they wasted years pretending effort didn't matter. You've seen it. The way people glitch when they realize the same hours they wasted doubting you. You spent becoming unstoppable. You've seen the eyes flicker, envy camouflaged as concern. The way they start quoting morality when they run out of excuses. You've changed, they say, like it's a sin to survive. You're not the same anymore. And you just smile, because they're right. You're not. You shed your softness like a dying skin. You learned that peace is earned in blood, and comfort is the death of legends. They wanted the old you, the one who laughed too quickly, apologized too much, made excuses for everyone else's incompetence. They loved that version. That version made them feel safe, equal, validated. But that version died the day you realized nobody was coming to save you. That's when you became dangerous. That's when you stopped seeking permission to breathe. And now, every time you win, they mourn something. They mourn their illusion of superiority. They mourn the version of you that let them be average. You are a living reminder that they could have done more and didn't. That's why they hate you. Because your existence is evidence. You expose their laziness just by existing. They can't delete you, so they'll distort you. They'll twist your story into something that makes sense to them. Because if they don't, they'd have to face their own reflection, and that's a war they'll never fight. See, you didn't become cold. You became precise. You didn't lose empathy. You just stopped giving CPR to people who kept drowning on purpose. You learned that love without respect is manipulation, and loyalty without reciprocity is slavery? You learned that support often comes with fine print. Stay below me so I can still feel tall. You broke that contract. And now they're panicking, because if one person like you can escape the script, others might follow. You are proof that the system of silent failure isn't mandatory. That's why they have to smear you. That's why they call you lucky, changed, ego-driven. They need to drag your light into something they can process. Because the truth? You're not ego-driven. You're just done playing servant in a theater built on fear. Every time you take a breath without asking, it's rebellion. Every calm smile is an act of war. You've mastered a weapon they don't understand. Detachment. You don't need to scream to be heard anymore. You don't need validation to exist. You don't need their applause to know you're worthy. That kind of independence breaks the fragile. And deep down, they miss you. Not because they love you, but because your chaos made them feel better about their own. You were their emotional landfill, their therapy, their proof that at least someone's worse off. And now you're too composed, too silent, too untouchable. You make them feel seen, and they can't stand it. Because deep down, they know they're not victims, they're addicts. Addicted to pity, to control, to narratives that make them innocent. But you left the game. You stopped explaining pain to people who profit from it. You stopped performing humility for people who never respected it. You realized you can be kind and ruthless, holy and hellish, giving and gone. That's evolution, not personality change. That's ascension, not arrogance. And that's what makes you terrifying. You've become unpredictable. You operate from silence, move from instinct, disappear mid-scene, and reappear 10 levels higher. You make people question physics. You became a glitch in their moral code, proof that you can win without cruelty, dominate without noise, lead without permission. That kind of power. It doesn't scream, it watches, it waits, it smiles. You're what happens when the scapegoat learns the system, when the quiet one figures out the pattern, when the underestimated stops explaining. You are the aftermath of every betrayal they thought would bury you. You are their karma, in human form, calm, calculating, untouchable. So let them cry. Let them post their passive-aggressive quotes, twist their narratives, call themselves victims of your peace. Let them talk. You don't owe the insecure an explanation for your glow-up. You don't owe the lazy an apology for your discipline. You don't owe the bitter an update on your healing. You've earned this calm. You've bled for this silence. You've built this life in the shadows while they were busy debating your downfall. And now, the same people who laughed when you fell are whispering like prophets, trying to decode your resilience. Don't explain it. Let them choke on curiosity. Let them study your stillness like it's witchcraft. Let them fear what they can't imitate. Because when the world sees you winning again, and again, and again, calm, deliberate, unbothered, they'll realize something horrifying. You were never competing with them. You were escaping them. And that's why they'll never forgive you. You can almost taste it, can't you? That bitter tension in the air. The way the room changes temperature when you walk in. You don't even need to speak. Your presence alone rearranges molecules. Every laugh becomes forced. Every compliment rehearsed. Every glance a weapon dressed as admiration, because they saw you win once. And now, every interaction is a battle between their insecurity and your composure. They call it intimidation. But it's not that you're scary, it's that you're free. And freedom is terrifying to people still worshipping cages. They want you loud, reactive, dramatic. They want to see a little chaos in your eyes so they can convince themselves you're still breakable. But you aren't. You're surgical now. You operate in silence. You move through storms like you built the weather. And you bleed elegance even when they throw knives. That's what drives them mad. Your stillness. You don't flinch. You don't chase. You don't explain. You just exist. And somehow that's the loudest thing in the room. See, the truth is, most people don't want equality. They want control disguised as friendship. They don't want you to grow. They want you to stay available. They only loved you when you were half-healed, half-hoping, half-asleep. Because that version didn't threaten their illusion. That version apologized for existing. That version didn't make them question their own comfort zones. But then something happened. You snapped. Not the kind of snap that breaks things. The kind that awakens things. The kind that rewires your entire nervous system and whispers, "Enough." You started to see the patterns. The manipulation in every humble insult. The jealousy hiding in just advice. The way some people only check on you when they suspect you might be failing. You started noticing how many smiles disappear when you're shining. You started realizing that some people don't clap for you. They count your claps. And that's when you changed the whole game. You stopped needing them. You started living without audience participation. You took back the microphone and started narrating your own story. And in that moment, you became their worst nightmare. Someone who doesn't need their permission to be extraordinary. They'll call it arrogance, they'll call it ego, but that's just fear wearing makeup. Because deep down, they know. You were never supposed to make it this far. Not with what you've been through. Not with what they threw at you. You were supposed to break. You were supposed to stay small. You were supposed to become a story they could tell at parties. Remember them? Yeah, they had potential, but there was no but you didn't crumble. You recalculated. You became unrecognizable. And that, to them, is blasphemy. Because it means they never really knew you. It means all the gossip, all the pity, all the narratives they built around your pain are now irrelevant. You burned their blueprint. You rewrote your own script. And the funny thing? You didn't even have to fight them. You didn't need to argue, expose, or revenge. You just outgrew. That's the cruelest punishment of all. Evolution without confrontation. You didn't destroy them. You outpaced them. You didn't curse them. You left them behind, still praying to gods you stopped believing in. That's what they'll never forgive. Not the success, the ease of it, the peace of it, the way you make the impossible look casual, the way your silence speaks louder than their entire marketing team. Because you see, real power isn't in noise. It's in stillness. It's not in proving. It's in knowing. And that's what you've mastered. You've become a mirror that reflects every coward's regret. You've become the quiet hum that disrupts their chaos. You're not competing anymore. You're observing, and observation is lethal to those who live off illusion. You've crossed into a different frequency now, one where chaos can't reach you. You don't respond to shade. You cast light. You don't fight rumors. You let truth age like wine until it exposes everyone. You don't chase understanding. You let misunderstanding do the sorting for you. And as you sit there, calm, collected, dangerous, they spiral. Because there's no script for this. There's no tutorial for surviving rejection by someone who simply doesn't care anymore. They'll try everything. They'll provoke you with silence, guilt, nostalgia. They'll bring up your past like it's a debt. They'll play the victim, hoping your empathy still has a weakness for pain. But you learned the most dangerous lesson of all. Not all cries deserve rescuing. So you stay calm. You sip your coffee while they choke on narratives. You smile like you've seen behind the curtain. You don't warn them that their envy is eating them alive. You just let the show run. Because now you understand, not everyone deserves closure. Some people only deserve to watch you succeed from the sidelines they built. And that's the sweetest revenge, isn't it? No rage, no chaos, no spectacle. Just growth, just peace, just results so undeniable they can't even pretend not to notice. You became the consequence to every person who underestimated you. You became the haunting realization that they were wrong, and you didn't even need to say a word. That's power. That's art. That's madness refined into gold. And you'll keep winning, not because you need to, but because you can't help it. It's who you are now. You've turned survival into rhythm. You've made transformation your language. Every breath you take terrifies those who wanted you silent. Every calm blink feels like thunder to their guilty conscience. So let them talk, let them cry, let them call you arrogant, cold, changed, because they're right. You are changed. You're the evolution of every scar they left. You're the byproduct of every night you almost gave up. You're not just surviving anymore. You're studying the anatomy of power. And the conclusion? The more you rise, the smaller they sound. The more you glow, the more their narratives decay. They saw you win once, and that was enough to expose their true allegiance, not to you, to their envy. So keep going, quietly, ruthlessly, beautifully. Don't justify, don't soften, don't pause. Because every time you breathe in peace somewhere, a false friend suffocates on their own mask. And that is divine justice disguised as your normal day. So now you understand. It was never about the win itself. It was about what it revealed. The moment you crossed that line, you became a mirror too clean for them to look into. You didn't destroy anyone. You just stopped shrinking. And that alone was enough to expose every shadow in the room. Let them sulk. Let them play saint. You already made peace with being misunderstood. Because that's what power feels like. Quiet, steady, misunderstood. They'll call you heartless when you're finally healed, arrogant when you're finally sure, distant when you're finally free. But you don't need to defend it. You just smile that dangerous little smile. The one that says, I saw everything, and I still chose peace. You won once and it tore the veil off the world. Now every step you take is proof that evolution doesn't apologize. So walk on, calm, unbothered, untouchable. Because the truth is, they never hated your victory. They hated that you never needed their permission to win.